Okay, this seems too easy. Usually when it seems too easy, that means it's not working. Welcome to the first truly HD video that I'm doing. Here, you guys want to let's get the full experience. Check out how I did shave for this. I was gonna get a haircut, but that seemed like too much. So there, you take what you can get, people. Hi, I'm Pepper Coyote, and Dave Chappelle was once an edgy comedian who pushed back against existing power structures, spoke uncomfortable truths, and made us think about our place in society. I'm sorry, that intro makes me sound like Vsauce. Vsauce, Pepper here, and what are shoes? I've been a fan of stand-up comedy ever since I was 10 years old, and somebody gave me a VHS copy of a special called Himself by serial rapist Bill Cosby. The set is about 90 minutes of observational comedy on things like family, drinking too much, going to the dentist. Nothing groundbreaking, nothing what anybody would really call challenging, but still, it made me laugh. As I got older, I started watching every George Carlin special I could find late night on HBO, a service that my parents paid for exclusively to watch The Sopranos. In this way, it was kind of the Game of Thrones of the early 2000s. George was something different. Yeah, he'd still be up there telling fart jokes and making funny faces, but he'd also have discussion of money, power, politics, war, religion, the futility of existence. You know, great topics for 16-year-old me. I'm out there shotgunning Volt energy sodas, listening to Linkin Park in my trip pants down by my town's only traffic light. It's shocking I turned out like this. By the time you hit Carlin's later specials, the vast majority of the runtime is spent on, let's say, hard topics.
Pro-life conservatives are obsessed with the fetus from conception to 9 months. After that, they don't want to know about you. They don't want to hear from you. No nothing. No neonatal care, no daycare, no Head Start, no school lunch, no food stamps, no welfare, no nothing. If you're preborn, you're fine. If you're preschool, you're
I started listening to Patton Oswalt, Maria Bamford, Brian Posehn, Mike Birbiglia, Sam Kinison, Bobcat Goldthwait, Bill Hicks, even Louis C.K., who, at the time, you could talk about without having to gently explain to people, yes, his comedy is funny, but it's not funny enough to make up for him non-consensually whipping out his wiener in front of people. It is impossible to be that funny. He just needs to reflect on his actions, realize how they were harmful, and attempt to atone for these actions, not, let's say, jump on stage only a few months later with brand new material about how mad he is he got caught. Also, rape whistle jokes? Really, Louis? He went with rape whistle jokes? But, without a doubt, the comedian I watched the most, quoted the most, and still to this day reference the most is David Chappelle!
David Chappelle!
At the time, his specials, Killing Me Softly and For What It's Worth, were on near constant repeat in my life. I have most of the bits memorized. A lot of it's so-called edgy humor, so let's talk about what that even means. Edgy comedy is called edgy because it lives on the edge of what one can say in public, either legally or much more often, like what's socially acceptable. Obviously, where this edge is changes from situation to situation. Jokes you make with your grandmother are different from jokes you make with your close friends. But what I want to push back against today is the idea that merely saying something rude or mean is the same as being edgy. That one can push the envelope of social norms simply by not being politically correct. Oh my god, even the friggin' Netflix thumbnail has the word politically incorrect on it. Imagine you have a job. Maybe one day. Imagine your boss has chosen you to do a stand-up routine for everyone at like a company picnic or something like that. If your goal was to push the boundaries and get everyone in the crowd really thinking about something, what kind of jokes would you write? Surprise, it's a game show and you have 3 options. Option A, jokes about your boss, make fun of his weight or his hair, golf habits, etc. Option B, jokes about your coworkers, like how X department is lazy or somebody's bad at making copies or, you know. Option 3, jokes about your job, how like low-level employees are underpaid or unionizing, something like that. Vote in the comments now. I won't read them. Any of them. Aha! I see you've played AB3E before, because the answer is, of course. If your definition of edgy is just whatever offends people, you may have chosen option A. You call your boss an assortment of swear words, clever insults. Especially if your boss is very masculine presenting, this might actually go over well. This may be considered a roast, as they say. Their authority, or really their right to authority, is never challenged, and everybody gets to have a good laugh. It's humanizing for the boss. Your coworkers get to feel like something was said to somebody powerful, maybe. Did you choose B? I mean, making fun of your coworkers is definitely more risky, but your coworkers and you don't really have the power in this situation, so it's kind of by definition not challenging authority. I need more edge. Did you choose 3? Congratulations, you chose the answer I've been unsubtly directing you towards in a video I made. This is the edge I crave. Get up there and riff on how badly your coworkers are treated. Do a bit on how your boss works fewer hours yet gets more money than you while not actually producing anything. I want a 10-minute Carlin rant on how your job cleared X number of billions in profits last year, but bill and shipping can't afford rent. If you aren't challenging norms or the authorities that hold up these norms, you aren't pushing the edge. Maybe you think it's impossible to write good material about boring things like worker rights and unions and such, but it's really not. Here, watch this. How do you get a Walmart to fire a gun? Easy. You just tell them that the gun wants to join a union. Badum-tis. Finally, we can talk about Chappelle, or more specifically, his latest stand-up special, Sticks and Stones. I watched this on a plane, and I was genuinely excited to see it. I really have enjoyed Chappelle's stand-up for a very long time, and I'm not just saying that to make my argument better when later I inevitably have problems with the things he says. I really did want to like this special, and like some of it is brilliant. It's the same Chappelle I've been hoping for. But a whole lot of it sounds like the kind of thing your 70-year-old conservative uncle says, but with better comedic timing. Side note, this video is about Chappelle specifically, but he's merely an example of a comedy trend. Dave could magically disappear tomorrow and these trends would continue with thousands of other comedians and writers. I'm speaking specifically, but trying to think systematically, if you know what I mean. Here are the bits I have issue with, not because I don't think they're funny, because everyone's sense of humor is different, but because they do not challenge authority and in fact align themselves with authority and mainstream conservative opinion. Let's break it down.
Break it down for me.
I'm going to try and show as many clips as I can for context's sake, but you know that Netflix is going to slap this thing down if I have too much. So that also is why you'll see a ton of just heinous filters all over the stuff. It might be upside down and backwards. I don't know what it's going to take. Put it in black and white, cover it in distortion filter, take a picture of the screen with my phone. I suggest that you watch the special yourself, either before or after, during this, so you can see what I'm talking about and don't think I'm just making stuff up. I'm not your dad. Do whatever you want.
Think of it. This is the worst time ever to be a celebrity. You're going to be finished. Everyone's doomed. Michael Jackson has been dead for 10 years, and this nigga has 2 new cases.
All right, we're 2 jokes in, and Dave is doing a bit on cancel culture. He implies that Michael Jackson is being unfairly treated since new allegations are surfacing after his death. This partially fits into the whole, like, don't speak ill of the dead even if they may have been a raper of children. You know, the talking point that comes out Fox News anchors' mouths every time a new Coke demon dies. Let's put an F in the chat for the Koch brothers. And then follow that with a U, a C, and a... All right. Let's not leave that in. That seems mean.
I don't think he did it. But you know what? Even if he did do it, you know what I mean?
Let's take a look at this line. Even if he did do it, you know what I mean? For one thing, on top of being, that joke is not even a joke. He just makes you laugh through pure timing, which I find extremely impressive. And it's good. It's the reason I like Dave.
I mean, it's Michael Jackson. I know more than half the people in this room have been molested in their lives. But it wasn't no goddamn Michael Jackson, was it?
But let's think about what he's actually saying here. A very successful artist I like did a bad thing, but it's okay because he was a very good dancer. This is not... Like, come on, guys. See, I got excited because at first I thought this was a setup. I'm like, see, Dave's going to make us laugh at this. Then he's going to bring the whole thing around and we're going to feel bad about laughing because he's going to bring up a good point. Or like how certain people in our society seem to be beyond criticism simply because they're either extremely powerful, extremely famous, extremely talented. We could have done a whole thing about like how that's heinous and messed up. And instead we got, those kids sure should be grateful that the person who raped them was Michael Jackson and not some random bum somewhere. Like, what? Okay, he's not saying it's okay, but he's saying it's better. Like, these are not ideas that push against authority. This is the line of thinking that keeps our president out of jail for now. For now. The idea that if you do awful things and keep them secret long enough and have enough money, you should just be able to get away with it. You should be able to avoid the consequences of your actions. Dave even downplays the nature of the accusations, leaving out the more violent claims in favor of BJ jokes. The documentary that you're talking about right now does not say that a BJ happened. Said a lot more. You can just see him softening it, prepping the audience so somewhere in the back of their head they can go, yeah, maybe Michael Jackson raped some kids, but it wasn't that bad. Even if he did the thing, it probably didn't rape him like bad rape. It was probably like a less bad kind.
I had written a sketch that had the word in it.
All right, you knew we were getting to this one. This is the part where Dave yells a homophobic slur a lot, and none of them are punchlines. Just does it. Like, what I take from it is that he's frustrated that he's not allowed to say that without people getting mad at him. It seems tacky, but whatever, Dave. Keep on respecting the gays, I guess. The bit is that he couldn't say on TV, but he could say the N-word. Stop. I will not interact with your weird racist comments. I will delete them, but go away. The reason that he was given for why he could say the one word and not the other is that he isn't gay, so he can't say fag. His retort is that he isn't an N-word either. Besides coming off to me as, like, I don't know, whiny, it also misses the point. Not all gay people want to hear the F word from gay people or from straight people. They get to make their decision on how to use or not use a slur that has been used to hurt them because of who they are. I think it's the same with the N-word and like all slurs, really. If you're a member of a group targeted by a word specifically meant to hurt you, your opinion on that word matters more to me. I don't really care what Dave Chappelle has to say on the use of that word. I'll make that decision on my own based on personal experience and shared experience of people like me. You know, Dave, us f***its. This is a small one, but isn't it weird that whenever you hear somebody mixing up the letters of LGBT,
LBGT,
you know they're just about to drop some just trash opinions on you. It's like when your mom calls your video game system like the Game Station or the X Cube or whatever. Like, they know what it's actually called, but they want to prove to you how little they care about it by saying it wrong on purpose. It's like, Mom, you know it's called a GameCube. You spent $200 on it, and like, we don't have a lot of money. You know what's called? The LBBC community, the CNN ABC. It's really hard to remember those four letters, Dave. It's just so hard. You never hear them. You never hear people say LGBT, so I understand why you can't get the order right. Very few people know what those letters are or what they stand for at this point. It's understandable you don't know the order. It's totally like real and genuine that you forgot the order and you didn't do it on purpose in a weird, like, belittling dig for no reason. Dave uses a car as a metaphor for the L33T community, a car that the gays are driving.
That makes sense to me, because there's white men in the G's.
He puts gays in the driver's seat because a whole lot of gays are white men, and it starts getting exciting again. It's like, wow, okay, there's some critique and comedy to be found in a minority movement being led by white men. When he gets to the trans people spot in the car, the back, he paints the rest of the group, the gays, lesbians, and bisexuals, as being unfairly mean to the trans person.
And then the T's don't even say anything bad. They should be in the back talking to himself. I'm hot. Shut up. Shut the up, okay?
He talks about how trans people can't use bathrooms and how that's also unfair.
Can you pull over at the next exit? I need to use the restroom. There is not a restroom for you for 4 states.
It's really weird watching Dave Chappelle over several years and 3 comedy specials at a glacial pace kind of start to get the JKLMNOP community. Okay, this bit is the whole reason I made this video, because I have seen this joke on Twitter from every no icon having 28 numbers in their handle Russian bot looking idiots available for like 4 years. And that's just as long as I've been paying attention. David Chappelle, one of the most talented comedians of my lifetime, made a transracial joke. A joke that compares the idea that a person may not feel comfortable conforming to the norms of the gender they were assigned at birth to being a Chinese person stuck in a black person's body.
What if I was Chinese, but born in this body? That's not funny. And for the rest of my life, I had to go around making that face. Hey, everybody, I'm Chinese!
What's next, Dave? You gonna make a I identify as an Apache attack helicopter joke? This is the kind of stuff your grandpa, who just learned about trans people yesterday, says. Apparently Netflix should be giving your grandpa a special because he's a groundbreaking comedian. The worst part about this is that you can be black and Chinese, like, at the same time. Like, there are black people who live in China. They're born in China, work in China, speak Chinese, etc., 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 etc. Acting like culture and gender are equivalent makes no sense. It's a bad premise for a joke. It's belittling to a group of people who have very little power. Make fun of trans people and what are the consequences? You get some angry tweets. Make fun of people who have power. Goof on corporations. Goof on the ultra-rich. Government. Goof on Netflix itself. Comedians love to imply that they're saying something that's dangerous, or they're saying things that they aren't allowed to say, while at the same time, as punishment for these crimes, they receive millions of dollars, fans, and TV appearances. If what you were saying were truly against the establishment, I'd have to look harder than Netflix to find it. Saying that, like, gays are gross, or rich people earned everything they have, or cleaning your room and pulling yourself up by your bootstraps is the solution to the world's problems isn't pushing any boundary. It's what old church ladies say to each other on their way to vote for Trump again. Oh yeah, like, since I started writing this a couple of weeks ago, notable boundary-pushing comedian Piers Morgan has now made the same dumb transracial joke, but even worse. Here he is comparing the transition from one gender of human to another gender of human to the transition from one species to another.
What's wrong with male and female, out of interest?
Can't people be what they want to be?
No, they can't. They can't. Otherwise...
What you tell them.
Okay, I would like to be
I totally agree, Charlotte.
Okay.
People should be what they want to be. I'm not sure
I'm a penguin.
that explaining...
I'm a penguin, identifying as a two-spirit penguin.
Because we all know men and women are just as different as penguins and British racists. There is no risk in comedy at the expense of marginalized groups. Dave walked away from the most successful show Comedy Central had at the time, Chappelle's show, because he thought the humor was moving from the audience laughing with him to the audience laughing at him. In his mind, the audience was too stupid to see past the racially stereotypical characters he created and understand the message he was putting out. Dave has moved from biting commentary on the entertainment industry to talking about how queer people are worthy of ridicule because he doesn't understand them. To talking about how trans people don't deserve rights because, oh, if LeBron was trans, we wouldn't know what league to put him in. Ah, crap, you're right, Dave. Sitting down and thinking about a complex issue is hard. Pack it up, trans people. You've truly lost now. An imaginary version of LeBron James has undone the last 200,000 years of transness. Okay, I'm starting to go off the rails here, and my hair is getting aggressively longer by the minute. Let's take a look at some examples of what I do consider edgy comedy. Here's a bit by Ted Alexandro. He suggests that people don't trust journalists anymore because the most prominent ones seem more interested in fame than journalism.
How did we get here? Journalists like to ask that, right? Coming up next, how did we get a President Trump? Oh, I don't know. Have you ever been watching a television show or a movie where a journalist appears as themselves? Wolf Blitzer suddenly on House of Cards playing Wolf Blitzer? I don't know, Wolf, how did we get here? Maybe because when you're interviewing Frank Underwood one minute and Donald Trump the next, we don't believe you anymore. You're not a journalist, you're an actor. Maybe because your role on House of Cards means more to you than your role as the fourth estate in our democracy. Maybe that's how we got here.
Who's the target of this joke? Famous news anchors on big networks who are, and never forget this, millionaires funded by the billionaires that own their networks. Do you think that they're interested in changing a system that currently allows rich people to do pretty much whatever they want? Want something a little older? Here's Barry Crimmins in 1990 talking about how the United States will go to extreme and deadly lengths to get fossil fuels, but will not consider using less oil.
Has anyone noticed that every time George Bush's popularity goes down, Saddam Hussein gets a little crazier that day? Bush, you're down 5 points. He's wacky. You're down 7 points. He's Hitler. You're down 12 points. He's got a bomb. Everybody. Who the hell doesn't have a bomb? Bush, you're crazy. You've got zillions of bombs. Israel has a bomb. South Africa has a bomb. I'm panicked about that, too. We've drawn a line in the sand, and we've told the whole world that we'll pay any price rather than develop a sane energy policy. This war is Bush's energy policy. You'll get a bunch of kids killed, and then they won't use oil after that, will they? No, they won't.
Who's the target? The U.S. government. Do I need to explain why that is pushing up against a power structure and the status quo that it enforces? Here's Hannah Gadsby talking about being mistaken for a man in public, and how that is technically an upgrade power-wise from being a female and a lesbian.
It's the apology I don't understand. When people apologize for mistaking me for a man. I got it on a flight recently, walking on, the cabin manager welcome aboard, sir. I said, oh, madam, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so It's like, oh, it's okay. Woo. It's not like you called a man madam. That could have... I said, don't apologise. In fact, I should thank you. I enjoyed it. Thank you. Never apologise. Don't apologise. Look, I don't identify as transgender, but I'm partial to a holiday. I love being mistaken for a man because it's just for a few moments, life gets a hell of a lot easier. I'm top shelf normal, king of the humans. I'm a straight white man.
Who's the target of the joke? This one's a little bit more abstract, as the target is gender stereotypes and how they affect our everyday lives. Lastly, here's David Chappelle. Who's the target in this joke? Well, we have Dave pointing out how until recently, many white people were ignorant of the unfair police treatment that people of color receive in the United States. Then, of course, there's the police brutality itself.
I'm not saying I don't like police. I'm not saying that. I'm saying I'm just scared of them. Sometimes we want to call them too. Somebody broke into my house once. It's a good time to call them, but the house is too nice. It ain't a real nice house, but they never believe I lived in it. Oh, he's still here. Open and shut case, Johnson. Apparently the snitch broke in and hung up pictures of his family everywhere. Let's sprinkle some crack on him and get out of here. That's that whole brutality thing. See, that's common knowledge now. There was a time when only minorities really knew about that. I'm not gonna say white people didn't believe us, but you were a little skeptical. You were a little skeptical. I mean, I don't blame you. And then Newsweek printed it, he knew it was true. And then the Newsweek white people were like, oh my God. Honey, did you see this? Apparently the police have been beating up Negroes like hotcakes. I mean, maybe you should have seen something a little suspicious. Don't you think it was like a little suspicious? Just a little suspicious? Every dead black person the police find has crack sprinkled on them. I mean, come on, man.
I'm sick of hearing supposedly boundary-pushing comedians repeating talking points that I'm used to hearing yelled at me by conservative street preachers. I'm sick of comedians crying censorship while also being hosted on the biggest media platforms that this world has to offer. If you aren't going to challenge authority, then you aren't on the edge, no matter how loud and rude you are about it. If you want to challenge the way people think, do it. Repeating hackneyed viewpoints but with more swearing isn't it. What I'm saying is, go trash a bank if you got real balls. This is the edge that I crave. It goes against existing power structures. It goes against what we've been told is the default way of thinking. It questions the way things are and if they should stay that way. And that is the topping. I want to go all the way to the edge.
А чё? Из-за него мы на краю экономической пропасти.
Благодаря ему у нас новые возможности. Благодаря ему мы теперь свободны. Можем дойти до края этой птицы.
За Горбачева!
За Горбачева! За Горбачева! За Горбачева!
The Edge Pizza from Pizza Hut with no outer crust, so the toppings go all the way to the edge. Most everyone's been to the edge. Have you?
This has been a weird one as always, but remember, give me $1. All right, all goofing around aside, thank you very much to any and all of my Patreons thank you to all of my Pokemans for helping me beat Team Rocket. Thank you very much to my patrons for the green screen. They're the reason I have a green screen. I have lights. There's a camera I'm talking into right now that doesn't look that isn't a potato. Also, I've paid my rent. I bought some food. I've done my car payment. Insurance, stuff my bills, they're paid also, and I'm living not on the street. So thank you very much to my patrons, because no goofing around, many of the things I just said would not be possible without your help. So thanks. Okay. This is called a badron. A balchran, as the Irish say it. And this one says Scotland on it, because it makes sense. Rain, shadow, Petrom, neutrino, Alacuja, and Dark Doggo, Atomic Crash, Brian Holmes and Muse the Husky, X from the Future and Annex the Fox, Justin Williams, Tremor, Glisson, and Cheesy Feline, played a Mexican wolf, musical husky, blue gray fox, zombie squirrel, Grace Jane Garling, Just gonna not say the rest of that name, Callum Green. Carlos Skirus, Omega Dragon, Pandora Magic Eye, Brother Rat, Omega Lacona, Coyote Dagon, Pony Sharp, Angus L, Benny, the Unknown Furry, Ruth, Ruby Redmayne, the Armored Wolf. Everybody take a break while I scroll down. Fuzz Wolf, Vermi Fox and Beaton, Safarius, Jared Hinsey, A.K. Leonardo Lynx. That was probably too loud of a clack right there. I probably had to edit it out too fast of a tempo now, where I think I started somewhere in this house. Royal Blue, Wheelie, The Dragette Show, Silver God, Oman, and Mama T. If you want your name with these people and I sing and I play an instrument poorly, then give me $5, please. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It used to be $5. Give me $10, please. All right. I whapped my thumb real good.